Okay, so we finally have a new Predator movie called Prey, and this one is actually good. And the reason why it's good is simple. It's because it's back to basics. Okay, so Prey is a prequel to the original classic Predator, which I absolutely love. I think probably next to RoboCop or Terminator, it's probably top 3 of the best action movies of the 80s. I know Aliens was there as well and Die Hard, but I think those 3 for me are my favorite. And Prey really just takes it back to basics. It's really this survival, pretty much action thriller between a Native American girl who, for the most part, I enjoyed her. I enjoyed the character of Naru, I think that was her name. But pretty much everything else around her, I wasn't a big fan of. All the other characters around her, they just seemed like really just like 80s movies, like just classic, just bullies, really. The way they talked about her, you know, it was a lot about that whole women shouldn't be hunters, they shouldn't really fight, they should be more of like cooks and whatnot. And it just made for some very basic and just boring dialogue that we get all the time. But really what this movie is really about is really just about between Naru really just proving herself and just really become the ultimate hunter and the ultimate predator by going after the predator. And first thing I gotta say is the predator, the design, I absolutely love it. There's something basic about it. He doesn't have as much armor on him as most of the other predators do. And he's very just an old school predator. I mean, he is just more of a hand-to-hand, brutal, knives, really just ripping you apart with his hands kind of predator. And thank God, because while I enjoy the little cannon that they have, I always prefer seeing predators use like their old like school weapons like spears and the nets that they have. And I like how it's mixed up with technology. As you get to see here, you know, they still have technology. They're still far more advanced than pretty much us. And at the same time, they're much more advanced than them because this movie takes place about 300 years ago. And really the Native Americans, they have no idea what's coming to them. They don't see the threat that's coming. They also don't take it serious because it's Naru that's really telling them about the predator. So it's really just her journey about really just, in a way, proving herself, but also really just trying to find out what the hell is going on, what the hell is hunting all these animals and the people around her. And I'd say for the first like 30 to 40 minutes, it's pretty good build up, but there's not really much. Maybe it's a little unnecessary where you can scratch off maybe like 5 minutes at most. I don't think it was that much where you needed to take off. I actually enjoyed it for the most part. Those first 30 to 40 minutes, that first act, it was enjoyable. But maybe if you can just scratch off about 5 minutes here and there, I think it would have probably been an even better movie. The movie already itself is about an hour and 40 minutes long, so it's a pretty quick and enjoyable movie. But yeah, I think that first act, you're really just waiting for the predator to show up. And when the predator does show up, it's fun, but you only get like a few scenes here and there sprinkled within the first act. And since we, the audience, already know pretty much everything that this predator like does and what the predator is all about, we're kind of just waiting to see the predator in action. We're waiting to see, you know, everybody to know what the predator is so we can finally get, you know, the fights and the action. And I would say around the second and third act, once the action comes, it really comes, and it's really enjoyable because, like I said before, it's really mostly hand-to-hand combat, which is just the best kind of combat in my opinion. You know, I don't mind the cannon. It's iconic to the predator, but I'd much rather have him just messing people up with spears and just butchering them and really just ripping off their skulls, going old school. And that's what this predator does. Besides, the look of the predator designed at like his new like helmet, the fact that it's like a skull and it's made out of bones, I think that's really just it's awesome. I don't know what the hell I just said there, but yeah, I think it's great. And yeah, it's really enjoyable movie, like especially towards the third act. There's this one scene where Naru is fighting the predator and she does something to the predator. I don't want to go into too much spoilers because it just came out, but the predator just gives her this look of really, he just looks at her. He does this like slow turn where he just looks at her and he's like, damn, you got me. And I found it pretty funny. It was probably the scene that I laughed at the most, where it's just the way he looks at her. It's almost like he kind of respects her for the way he pretty much got her and how, you know, things turned out, especially towards the end. I don't want to give it too much spoilers, but yeah, the final battle, it's fun. While I think it was a little short and a little just underwhelming, I think I expected a little more towards the end. For what I got, it was enjoyable, and I really liked it. And just pretty much the whole movie in general, it was very basic, standard. I just feel like there's not much to talk about, but at the same time, it's easily in my top 5 favorite movies of this year. And I'm so happy that they really just stopped trying to do something big, stop trying to do something convoluted. Like the Predator, the one that came out, what, 2018? That movie was just such a piece of shit because they were trying to go for just really this action comedy movie with a little bit of horror elements, and they were just trying to go so big and just trying to expand on the mythology of the whole Predator things. And while I think that's a really good concept and it's a really good idea, and you can make a lot of movies, you can do a whole franchise just based on the mythology on them, I think to really gain the respect and the attraction of the fans and audience, I think a movie like this was really needed, where it is just simple, back to basics, and it really just it needs to be a grabber. It really needs to grab the fans of the original, and even the other ones. It just needs to grab us, and it's a little safe with the way it's executed. It's very similar to the original Predator movie, but at the same time, it gives it a little bit of twist by just making it 300 years ago. I think that's all you really have to do for any movie when you do like a sequel that's been like decades since the original. You really just put it in a different environment and really just make it very similar, and you got your audience back. Then if you want to expand, then you can go ahead and expand once you've really like earned our trust. I think that's how you do a proper sequel. And well, this movie was a prequel, but I think they knew what to do. And sorry, I just got a phone call from my brother. But yeah, so I think this movie, it's very basic, it's simple, but that's really what we needed for a Predator movie. And the sad part is that it came to Hulu. Like, you can tell there wasn't that much trust on this movie because it went to Hulu. Obviously, if they knew it was gonna make a lot of money, if they had a lot of trust in it, they would have put it out in theaters, and I would have loved to see this movie in theaters. But you know what? I'll take it. I'll watch it in Hulu if that's what it means to get a simple movie where they're trying not to go big, blockbuster, convoluted, just bunch of crap that you really don't need in a Predator movie. And if you even put it in a Predator movie, just focus on that and try not to make it a comedy. The Predator was never really a comedy. And then with the Predator, they just put in too many jokes, but I'm talking about that. I'll make a review on that one time, and that's gonna be pretty funny because I'm gonna be mad as hell. But I think Prey, I think the protagonist, great character. I really enjoyed her and her journey. And there was a lot of like this like 80s cheese and a lot of callbacks to the original that were done like in a way subtle, but also like in your face for those who have seen the original probably as many times as I have. I absolutely love that movie, so any callback I quickly noticed. For those who don't really know much about the Predator, obviously they won't notice it because not that many callbacks. But I really enjoyed the protagonist. She did a great job. I watched the Comanche cut, and sadly, it turns out that it also was dubbed, and I quickly realized that because even towards the beginning, I was like, okay, this doesn't sound like them talking. It also doesn't match the lips. I thought this was actually them, but apparently it is dubbed, so that kind of sucks. The English version, I haven't even seen that because honestly, I really don't want to watch the English version. I was really hoping for the Comanche cut to be their actual voices and them actually speaking, but that's not what we got. Oh well, I'm just happy. The movie was really fun, really enjoyable, basic, simple. It's exactly what we needed. It's exactly what I wanted. From the trailers, it's exactly what the trailers offer, and I'm thankful for that. I'm happy that we got that. I'm happy that we got a good Predator movie, and I hope we get, I hope they put more money in there because some of the CGI was a bit wonky, with especially the animals that you got to see. Even from the trailer, the bear didn't look as good. But besides that, you give it more of a budget on where it needs it, but not more of a budget on where it doesn't need it. Like, don't give it more of a budget just to make it like bigger and just this whatever you try to do with the Predator. Don't do that. Give it more of a budget so it can be better with like the CGI and less use of like the fake blood. I prefer more practical effects, even though we got really good effects with the Predator itself. That Predator, it looked great, menacing. So that was all enjoyable. But yeah, please go watch this movie. I know there's probably not a lot of ads on it because it's going straight to Hulu, and it doesn't really have the Predator name. The movie's called Prey, so you really have to either be a fan or just be interested in general to know about this movie. But besides that, if you haven't seen this movie, please go watch it. It's a quick movie. It's an hour and 40 minutes long. It's fun. It's a great time. It's gory. It's bloody. You know, the first act, a little slow, but I think if you're willing to, you know, watch all that, because it's not boring. It's just slow. I would say that. I wasn't bored. I was just waiting for the Predator because I'm a huge Predator fan. I was like, okay, come on, let's go. I already know all of this that's going on. I understand you want to build those characters, but even those characters, they were a bit boring. They were very basic, and they were 80s bullies. But besides that, the movie was great. I had a blast. I absolutely loved it. It was simple, but I loved it. That's what I loved about it. The fact that it was simple. So, highly recommend this movie. Go watch it. And as always, thanks for watching.